Following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys!
This is Mick Shots, streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Here we go with another edition of Mick Shots here on DallasCowboys.com on this Monday as our Zamboni is going right on cue. There's one thing we two things we can count on usually here in Oxnard, California for Cowboys training camp is the sun will be out and the field blower will be rolling on the morning. Mickey Spagnola, Savannah, Hugh Moeller. It's a half a staff here on this 28th day in training camp, if you can believe that. And for you, young lady, how many more?
I think I am a little over 5 weeks past the marker here. So it's been a good 35-something days for me here in Oxnard.
Well, it's another Chamber of Commerce day here in Oxnard, 65 degrees. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's been a cloud out in 2 days because yesterday was perfectly blue skies.
Beautiful.
And I bet it was a heck of a sunset. I know our team photographer, James Smith, was headed to the ocean last night to get sunset pictures with his professional camera, so I can't wait to see what he got. But Savannah and I, Nate Newton went back home. He wasn't going to the game. He didn't have any function there. Said he was coming back, but there's no way he was going to drive back and forth another time, right?
No.
And Bill Jones went back after the game, after he did the game against the Chargers, a 27-12 Raiders, excuse me. Savannah looked at me like I was goofy, and I was, against the Raiders in Vegas on Saturday. And he went back home after he did the game and the pregame show. So it's just us two, young lady.
I know. The guys have been busy. And you know what? The one person that we have not talked about here at training camp, we have not gave a nice shout out to Everson Walls back at home. We miss you, Everson.
And I talked to him the other day. He called and goes, well, what's up? And I go, well, we're coming home, but this is our last Mick Shots here from training camp. We'll have a Cowboys practice today at 3:15.
It's a mock
game.
Mock game, closed practice that team will kind of use to do as a walkthrough type.
And then Mike McCarthy's press conference today on DallasCowboys.com is scheduled for around 3:45. But if they're doing a mock game at 3:15, I bet they stretch it out more than 30 minutes, right?
Exactly.
So it's a abbreviated day here in Oxnard, but we certainly got a lot to talk about. As I mentioned, the Cowboys went to Vegas, beat the Raiders 27-12. I thought it was a nice performance by the Cowboys since that majority of the first half the Raiders played their starters.
Right.
The Cowboys basically had their backups in for the entire game, short of a couple guys. Tyler Guyton, who will be the starting left tackle, played in the first quarter. Cooper Beebe played in the first quarter, and Jalen Tolbert, I think, got like 9 snaps. So from a starters on offense, that basically was it. And defensively, it was your backups. So I thought it was a nice performance after a tough travel day for the Cowboys on Friday to get to Vegas. But again, these guys are playing, the majority of them, for their football lives to make this 53-man roster. The cut doesn't take place until August 27th, I believe it is. Today's the 19th,
Today is
correct?
The 19th, yes.
So it's right around the corner, and it'll be after the last preseason game. So What were your impressions? I know you had to watch it on TV, but I know you watched it. What did you think?
You know, I have two guys that I want to talk about to start this off, and first one is on defense, Andrew Booth Jr. I could not keep my eyes off him. 7 tackles in the game. He was just everywhere on defense, and that was one thing that I really, noticed. I like that, he's recent to the team, and they put him in, right into the game, and he was making plays. And what was interesting is I was watching the game with some people and my dad, who he follows the Vikings very heavily, and he said, I think there's a lot more playing time that this guy is seeing, Booth specifically, right now in this preseason game than he did a lot with the Vikings. And
well, one of the reasons you saw so much of him, he ended up playing 45 snaps.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys traded Nashawn Wright to the Vikings. The Cowboys in return got Andrew Booth. Well, one of the reasons he made so many tackles, though, is because his guy was getting receptions. So that 4th and 5th cornerback position is wide open.
Yep.
We know the top 3, right? Trayvon Diggs finally got into team with pads on last week. Deron Bland, Jordan Lewis, and they had been using Nashawn Wright as the replacement for Diggs with the first team
right
early, all through training camp until Diggs got back in. And they figured, you know what, it doesn't look like this guy's going to make the team. The Vikings decided, hey, it looks like Booth is not going to make the team. A second-round draft choice, by the way. And so they flipped guys, and we'll see how it takes place. The other corner, obviously, that stood out was Kaman Hall, former North Texas football player. How about that?
Go Mean Green.
Did you even
alumni.
know he was there?
I did. He's great, and I loved watching that pick 6 from him.
69 yards, I believe it was.
Yeah, run it back for the touchdown. He was incredible, and it's things like that where I appreciate seeing these, kind of second-string guys that are stepping up into these areas to make those plays. I mean, Eric Scott did it in the first preseason game as well, so I love seeing that from these guys. What did you think of him?
Yeah, absolutely. And Hall ended up playing 56 snaps.
Good.
So that's basically the entire game. Now, he's had some NFL experience. He played in 18 games with the Chargers. 2021, I believe it was, over 2 seasons. Got released by the 49ers this year, and the Cowboys picked him up on waivers. Mm-hmm. And the funny story about him after the game, he was asked when's the last time he had a pick 6. And it was in 2019 with the Mean Green against the Arkansas Razorbacks, and he picked off somebody named John Stevens Jones. Stephen Jones' son, Jerry Jones' grandson, was playing quarterback for Arkansas when the Mean Green defeated Arkansas, and he had a 21-yard interception return for a touchdown.
Get out of here.
How about that?
That's a full circle moment right there. You come back here to the Cowboys, and you're with the family, under the family, and you pick the ball. You love to see that. That's
he kind of sheepishly pointed out that was his last interception, and then somebody realized, oh, wait a minute, that was against Arkansas and John Stevens Jones.
That's so funny.
Somebody asked him, do you think that's why they picked you up on waivers? And it's like, well, he had been here for a cup of coffee with the Cowboys in 2020, and then they waived him in training camp. Mm-hmm. So they kind of knew about him. So anyway, there's 2 guys along with Eric Scott. If they're going to keep 5 corners, there's probably 2 spots open. There's 3 guys that I think so far, actually 4 if Josh Butler has played quite a bit. So we'll see where that cornerback spot goes. What was your other impression from the game?
Let's start with our favorite Brandon Aubrey with the 66-yarder. Just also mindful, new dad here, has his baby last week, comes back here to training camp. I think he had only practiced one day, and then it was time to head out to Vegas, and kicks the 66-yarder. He is just continuously so progressive in his game and how he did last season, and it just seems so rinse and repeat like last year. He just looked so comfortable out there. He knows what he's doing, and we love seeing that from him.
Yeah, so a 66-yard field goal from from Brandon Aubrey, and the funny thing is that's I don't think my column's been posted yet on DallasCowboys.com, but I basically wrote it all about him. And the funny thing that happened in the game, we were doing the pregame show, and we were doing it towards the end of the Cowboys bench on the field, so it's an hour show before the game starts, and we're by the kicking net. And I'm sitting there talking, and I see this hat come kind of in my peripheral vision from the right? Well, I looked, and it was Brandon Aubrey's hat. And it dawned on me that we were in the midst of our second pregame show, and I'm not sure his name had ever come up in either show. It's 8 segments a show, 16 segments, and we never talked about Brandon Aubrey, which made me think back to last year that every week that was a topic to talk about.
It was
right?
the topic to talk about neirly every week last
because
year.
Because Cowboys had to find a kicker, and they decided last year on August 7th, they released Tristan Vizcaino and basically said, we're going to see if this kid can do the job. 28 years old, had only kicked professionally, only kicked footballs for the previous 2 years with the Birmingham Stallions, right? High school, college, he was a soccer player. We did, the whole history thing. And he ends up proving that he can do the job.
Right.
So last year, we were rushing around during practices trying to chart every kick to see, how many he would make and see if he can do the job. Well, this year, it's like we go to watch him kick to see if he misses any after making 36 of 38 last year and had an NFL record 35 consecutive makes to start a career. Didn't miss a kick until a field goal until the final game of the season, where one got blocked and one hit up the upright. But those were his only 2 misses, right?
Right.
So it was like, well, we don't have to pay attention to this guy.
Yeah.
He's the kicker. And then probably the first time I think maybe he had to answer questions was when he left the game with 4 seconds to go against the Rams this preseason, because he found out his wife was getting ready to have the baby the next day and he needed to get home. So he left the game early. I think he pointed out he was leaving the stadium at like 3:49, got to the airport at 5:13 or something like that. He must have had an escort, right?
Yep.
And ended up flying home for the birth of his baby son, Colton. And he said after he made the kick that the 66-yarder, that was going to be his son's first football. He was going to give the football to him. But think about 66 yards. The NFL record right now is Justin Tucker, Baltimore. He kicked a 66-yarder in 2021, but his bounced off the crossbar and went in, right? Prior to that, the longest field goal in a regular season game we're talking was Matt Prater in 2013. He kicked 65 yards, all right? And before that, the longest field goal had been 63 yards, first by Tom Dempsey in 1970, if you can believe that. So there's been 6 guys that have kicked a 63-yarder The first was Dempsey. The last was Brett Maher of the Cowboys in 2019.
So he unofficially ties the record.
So it was unofficially, and I tried searching to see if I could find an official preseason record. The only thing I saw that came up, some guy named Ola Kimron hit a 65-yarder in training in preseason, but it wasn't official. I just couldn't nail it down, but that was the only one I could find. So I did a strange thing yesterday. I was walking around late afternoon on the field, and I said, I wonder how many steps it would take me for 66 yards. And it took me 84 steps.
84?
84. Well, I don't have a big stride, right? But that's how far 60. I mean, the ball was
a long time. It's like it's out there.
The ball's put down on the opposite 46-yard line, right?
Right.
And I don't know if anybody's ever gone out on the field and looked how skinny the width is between the two uprights from that far out, right? And he nailed it. And it wasn't like it just got there. To me, it would have been good from 70 because it hit the back wall. I mean, it hit the wall of the stands, the first row of the stands where the fans are sitting. And so that's got to be, another 4 or 5 yards beyond where the goalposts are. But think about this. When Tom Dempsey hit his kick, that was back when the goalposts were on the goal line. It wasn't on the back line, right? So his ball was placed down on the 37-yard line for his 63-yard field goal. And just an aside, and part of my story I was writing about is back 1970 when he made the kick. The newspaper guys that covered the team, the newspaper reporters, used to fly on the Cowboys charter to the away games. So they're on the flight coming back from New York, and word got out that Dempsey hit a 63-yard field goal because the previous NFL record was 56. And
so that's why, a few,
right? So it got out that he hit a 63-yard field goal, and the backstory on Tom Dempsey is he was born without any toes on his right foot or any fingers on his right hand. So he had a modified shoe that he had to kick with, right? Because back then, they're kicking straight on. There was no soccer-style kicking. And his shoe had a flattened front that was rectangular. So it was like he had a kicking shoe on, right? He wasn't using, obviously, his foot, his toes, because he didn't have any. So the writers went up to the front of the plane to ask Tex Schramm, the Cowboys president and GM for 29 years, what he thought of Dempsey's kick. And he said, well, he had an unfair advantage, meaning his shoe that he was using, right?
Right.
And so word got out to the PR department what Tex said, and they went up to him and said, Tex, do you really want to say a guy with no toes that's somewhat handicapped had an unfair advantage? And Tex goes, he still did, yes. Well, the next day, he got lit up.
Oh, I'm sure.
The feedback, and he finally apologized.
Yeah.
But the backstory on this whole thing is by 1977, the NFL passed a rule that anybody kicking a football had to use a normal kicking shoe. You couldn't have an altered, flattened front of the ball. So once again, Tex was 7 years ahead of his time, right? But that was the 63-yarder. That was the funny story behind that. So
interesting.
We got off to a kicking start here.
Yes, we did.
On Mick Shots. And Savannah, what do you think? Since it's just the two of us, I think we have the opportunity to take phone calls.
Let's absolutely take some phone calls. If anyone listening would like to call in and ask Mickey and I some questions from this last preseason game, the training camp call-in line is 214-387-1650. 1659. Again, 214-387-1659. And we will chat more with you when we come back here on Mick Shots.
Miller Lite is brewed with great taste and only great taste.
The Miller Brewing Company would like to issue a correction. Miller Lite is brewed to be less filling. What are you doing here?
Miller Lite tastes great.
Look, I'm just reading the script. It says less filling.
That's not what my script says.
Well, mine says...
We'd like to apologize for the previous announcers. Miller Lite is in fact less filling and tastes great. Time to shine, legal guy.
Celebrate responsibly. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Beer. 96 calories and 3.2 grams carbs per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Fall is here, and that means football is back, bringing all the delicious game day foods with it. As you prep for all the big games, tailgates, and watch parties, let Yo Quiero be your one-stop destination for all things home gating. Yo Quiero's fresh, flavorful, ready-to-serve guacamole, made with real Hass avocados, will score taste bud touchdowns as you cheer on the Cowboys. Yo Quiero's wide range of mouth-watering and versatile products can be found in your local grocery store's produce or deli section. Grab some today.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Back to Mick Shots.
Cowboys Nation, 2024 Dallas Cowboys training camp presented by American Airlines is here. Head to sunny Oxnard, California from July 25th through August 21st to watch the team practice. Admission is free. More information, visit dallascowboys.com/training camp. And just a quick reminder, our phone lines are open if you would like to ask Mickey and I a question regarding this last preseason game against the Raiders. The call-in line is 214-387-1659. And Mickey, I think we have a call from Brian in Kansas City, who is our first caller today. Brian, how are you?
Hey, good morning. Oh, you guys hear me okay?
Give us 1 second, Brian. We're trying to hear you here.
Okay.
Well, maybe we'll get back to Brian. Just hang on and make sure we're all connected, right? It's our first shot to try to take some calls. Hey, you know what? With these headphones on, I can hear a lot.
I could hear you
better.
a lot better, Mickey.
It kind of drowns. Oh, there we go.
How about now?
It's real loud, but we can.
We can hear the Zamboni, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, can we hear Brian?
I have not heard.
How about now?
But Mickey, while we're here, real quick,
I'm gonna leave these on. It drowns out the Zamboni.
Would love to quickly chat about Stephon Gilmore, who is now headed to the Vikings.
Right.
That news obviously broke yesterday morning. He will be signing with the Minnesota Vikings, but, you know, outstanding season here with the Cowboys. Wish him all the best in Minnesota, and, you know, I think that's a really great spot for him.
And I think it was a lot more from what I heard than what the Cowboys, that's too loud, what the Cowboys could pay him. I believe he ended up with a $7 million base salary with the ability to make $9 million. So he waited it out, and obviously Minnesota trading Booth, and I don't know that Nashawn Wright made a big impression on him, so they signed a veteran guy to help out. But yeah, and I think the Cowboys realized that what he was looking for, they couldn't afford.
Yep.
And so their concern last week was on the defensive line, and they made 2 moves to try to get some at least experience there. They did sign veteran Jordan Phillips, who's been around the league for quite some time. He was had been with the Giants. I said they signed him. They traded for him a couple future draft choices. But the big thing with Jordan Phillips, and it is big, by the way, he is 6'6", 341, and he's a nose tackle. So they needed some bulk, not only bulk in the middle, along with Mozzie Smith, and we'll get to that in a minute, but also some experience there, because behind Mozzie was just a bunch of young guys. So they made that trade, and then I think officially they will get signed Carl Lawson, defensive end, veteran guy, has been in the league for 7 years, and just knowing that they needed some more with Sam Williams out now on injured reserve, having torn his ACL early in camp, they just didn't have a lot of experience there besides DeMarcus Lawrence. And then, while they can play Micah Parsons at defensive end, he's not going to be out there for 60 snaps a game.
Absolutely not. It's not realistic.
So they needed somebody. So they got Lawson, who had worked out for him previously. It didn't work out. I think they finally agreed on a number and brought him in. So, Chris, do we think we have him? Let's see.
We are going to try.
How about now, guys?
Hey, we got you. Thanks for being patient with us.
Yeah, no worries. Well, I'm mad because you stole my topic, but that's okay. I'll ask a different question. But I was thinking the same thing, that kicker is just a non-issue this year. And last year I was watching the break, and an errant kick sailed right over the crew's head. And I thought, what a difference this year that we just don't have any questions in that area. So my question, though, for this year is going to be, I think that we have too many running backs that are kind of similar skill sets, similar body types. And I was wondering if you guys think that gives Deuce a little bit of an advantage, because all the other guys are kind of bigger, stronger, kind of that same build. And he's the odd one out. He's kind of a different, more scat back, smallish, quicker guy. So with that, I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian.
That's a great question to start things off, because he's got a great point there. So you can look at the running back position like this. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott makes the team. The fact that they didn't even put Rico Dowdle out there in the Raiders game, he's on the team. Hunter Lepke will be on the team as the fullback, and as we talked to Mike McCarthy on the pregame show, he likes fullbacks, and Lipke can help him as a true fullback. He can help him as an H-back, and he also can help him as a one-back in some of their one-back offenses. So he's on the team. That's 3. So I think the 4th spot is wide open, and somebody would have to convince him to keep 5 running backs, which would be a lot. I think Malik Davis and Royce Freeman have each had their moments in training camp. And then Deuce finally shows up in the game. I believe he ended up with,
he had 5 carries, 34 yards,
yeah,
6.8 average.
And he had missed a full week of training camp prior with a hamstring strain. So he kind of really got behind the 8 ball, got his opportunity late last week, and then got in the game against the Raiders. And I think Brian's right. He's a different type of running back. Obviously, he's smaller. We know that. But he showed in the game his quickness, his ability to change directions in a moment. And he had a couple runs like that in the game, and it's like, oh, that's the Deuce that they drafted. That's the guy they were looking for. Now it's a matter of, what these guys can help on special teams, because last year the games usually that he was inactive, they just looked at it. It goes, well, what else can he do for us? Because other running backs could go down and cover punts, kickoffs. But this year, with the kickoff rule changed, the coverage is you need a different type of player, right?
Absolutely.
So I think he's got an opportunity now. He's got one more preseason game to kind of prove what he can do. But again, I think Brian's right. So I think it comes down to three guys, basically, if they're going to keep four: Deuce, Royce Freeman, a veteran, and Malik Davis, who I thought had a nice week of practice last week.
I do want to mention one thing that I had looked up prior to the show today. So when it comes to this new kickoff rule and these returners, right now, last week, after the first week of preseason, it was an 80% return rate. Last year, 22%. That's a huge difference. So I think that you're going to see so much more returns coming into the season because of the new kickoff rule. And this is where an area where you can see multiple different guys. Deuce Vaughn might be one of those guys. You saw these explosiveness plays from him in the run game. I want to see also what he can do as a returner. So that's one thing I kind of want to see if they're going to utilize him in any way in that area as well.
This last game, they were using primarily Malik Davis and T. Billy Johnson. So there's different ways they can do that, because if you think you can anticipate where the kicker's kicking the ball, left or right, whatever, you can kind of put your formation that way. Your top returner, which we're assuming is Cavante Turpin, and the second guy can be more of a blocking guy. You could have an extra blocker, so you could put a bigger running back there to ability to return, but also the ability to get you an extra blocker. So it would be interesting to see how that works out. Do we have another phone call?
We do. Larry in Weatherford, Texas. How are you today, Larry?
I'm doing fine.
Thanks for joining us.
Well, I appreciate it. I got a question that's bothered me for quite some time. You know, the team can't seem to re-sign Dak or CD, or they're worried about the defensive end / linebacker.
Micah.
Yes, and I'm wondering, why do the players that make up the NFL Players Association approve the agreement that they have with the owners, given the fact that the more these three or so skilled players that you have on each team make, the less each one of those other players that make up the lion's share of the teams in the league. Why would they agree to that? Looks to me like it would make more sense to say, okay, the top three highest earners can't be signed for any more than X percent of the cap, and that would, shall we say, spread the wealth around to all the players.
You know, that's a great question, and appreciate it. But the NFLPA, when they do the CBA, they're just basically looking out for trying to get the biggest contracts they can for their players, and they understand that's life, right? I mean, that's the business world out there, and the business world only has, if they do, a self-imposed salary cap. There is a salary cap in the NFL, and your thought is really good, and I've seen some discussion, people thinking that they should allow the quarterbacks to make what they can make and not count against the salary cap, like give a one person kind of freebie against the cap. But again, in this free world, you kind of make what you can, and I don't think that they would, do that and say, well, these three guys can only have this percentage of the
X
cap.
amount.
Right, yeah. But it's a good thought, and I kind of like the idea of having the exclusion of the quarterback, because we know what quarterbacks are making, and that percentage of the cap is way out of whack with all basically the other players. So You know, Jerry was asked the question about CD. He still seems confident they'll get him in. I am always confident that these things get done before the first game of the season. No one's going to – he's under contract, so that's what everybody got to understand. And he's scheduled to make $1 million a week for 18 weeks. So it's a guaranteed $17.99 million deal that he has. And I don't know that –
which is a current contract.
Right.
We have to remind everybody that he is still on a contract right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, I mean, if there's many red-blooded Americans out there that would give up $1 million a week for a cause. So
right.
We'll kind of keep monitoring that and see where that goes. And we probably need to take a break. We appreciate the calls. It's just me and old Savannah here. That's it.
We'll have one when we get back. We have a caller on the line.
And we will be back in a moment on Mick Shots.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
Miller Lite is brewed with great taste and only great taste.
The Miller Brewing Company would like to issue a correction. Miller Lite is brewed to be less filling. What are you doing here?
Miller Lite tastes great.
Look, I'm just reading the script. It says less filling.
That's not what my script says.
Well, mine said.
We'd like to apologize for the previous announcers. Miller Lite is in fact less filling and tastes great. Time to shine, legal guy.
Celebrate responsibly. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Beer. 96 cows and 3.2 grams carbs per 12 ounces. Fewer cows and carbs than premium regular beer.
Fall is here, and that means football is back, bringing all the delicious game day foods with it. As you prep for all the big games, tailgates, and watch parties, let Yo Quiero be your one-stop destination for all things home gating. Yo Quiero's fresh, flavorful, ready-to-serve guacamole, made with real Hass avocados, will score taste bud touchdowns as you cheer on the Cowboys. Yo Quiero's wide range of mouth-watering and versatile products can be found in your local grocery store's produce or deli section. Grab some today.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Back to Mick Shots.
The official 2024 Dallas Cowboys Star Magazine Training Camp Preview is now available. This year's edition features scouting reports, position analysis, a pull-out schedule poster, and articles from your favorite Cowboys writers. Get your training camp preview today at your local pro shop or dallascowboys.com/star. And I love the little poster in here. I use it every season to write the scores of each game afterwards. It's a great little feature in here, and Mickey has some.
You know, I pull it out each year. I put it on the wall by my desk.
Right.
The first game the score gets put on there, and then it's like, oh, I forget to keep adding the scores as we go along. So I got to remember to put mine up. Final segment here on Mick Shots in Oxnard, California. Another beautiful California day. This is why when you come here, you don't want to leave. It's just a gorgeous day.
It's stunning.
It'll be perfectly sunny. I bet the high today will be about 73 degrees, something like that. And it's just the same thing every day. But as I said, this is our last Mick Shots from training camp. Cowboys will practice 4 more times if we include the walkthrough here today, and head out on Thursday. We need to touch one thing, the Mozzie Smith scare
yes.
on Friday of last week. He had an allergic reaction just as the buses were going to pull out to head to LAX to fly to Vegas. He had an a reaction to something that was in a protein shake, and they really scared him until they figured out what had happened.
Right.
So that eliminated him from playing in the game. But he is fine and should be able to resume practicing. But it had been a scary situation right there.
Absolutely.
And so we'll see if he's. I'm sure he's good enough to go through the mock game, which is basically a walkthrough. Okay, we have another caller, and I want to preface this with that this guy has been listening to our podcast. It seems like forever. First on Talking Cowboys, and I'm glad to hear he's still listening to me on Mick Shots. It's Nebbie from Silver Springs, Maryland. Nebbie, how the heck are you?
I'm doing well. And Mickey, I got to tell you, it's great to talk to you again, my man. It's been years, and Savannah, it's a pleasure to talk to you for the very first time.
So nice to meet you.
Listen, I was wondering, are you guys as excited about Cooper Beebe as I am? Because I really think he can help us out. Because based on what I've read about him, he can just maul whoever is across him. And what do you think are the chances that Cooper Beebe is our starting center when we play in Cleveland against the Browns in 20 days? Take care. Thank you so much for being patient with me, and have a great week. Bye.
Oh,
thank you so much.
It's great to hear from Nebbie once again. As a matter of fact, a couple of times when we've gone to games when the Cowboys are playing Washington, he has made the effort to come to the team hotel and visit with us. So taking pictures with Nebbie, and it's great to hear from him. Okay, Cooper Beebe.
Let's do it.
I think he's got a real chance to be the starting center. I think the competition is not over yet with Brock Hoffman, but I think the Cowboys just like his strength at the center position. And as long as he can continue to show that he can command the line of scrimmage, meaning making the calls for the blocking assignments to recognize what's going on, and the fact that he's got, it seems, the snaps down. I think people have probably seen online. I don't know what it was on, if it was on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, Snapchat or whatever. It showed him snapping the ball. Instagram, is that what it was?
Bill tweeted it.
Yeah, that he was snapping the ball to his mom in the backyard.
Right, yeah.
And he was snapping to whoever teammate during the rookie minicamp when they were staying at the hotel. He would go into the ballroom, and he had a ball, and he practiced his snaps.
Right.
So I think he's played well. I think they think he's played well. He ended up with just 23 snaps in the game, but started his first game. So I think there's a good chance, and Nebbie's right. He said that, he thinks he's a mauler, and he is. When they had him practicing with the first team this past week, I noticed that, was it the scrimmage against the Rams?
Yes.
And he was at center, and he snapped the ball, and he first went to his right to help out the guard take out the defensive tackle. He came off of that block and went and got the linebacker, and that's what I saw from him at K-State. that I was impressed with, that he could get to the second level. And,
right.
And if I remember when he did the interview after the draft, he said his favorite thing was to dirt people, meaning block guys and put them in the dirt. Now, I don't know, if that's going to happen in the NFL too many times, but he's active. So we'll see how it plays out. That's a good observation from Nebbie, who watches and listens and reads everything he can about the Cowboys. Your impression of BB?
It's interesting. These first couple of weeks of training camp, the conversation was really about Brock Hoffman and how he was taking all the snaps with the first team. And I really like seeing how they're finally utilizing Cooper Beebe. I think they're starting to see what he has and the drive in him. And so seeing him as a starter out there, I feel like the conversation has now gone almost 50-50. Like you said, the competition here between Brock Hoffman and Cooper Beebe, it's not over.
Right.
I think we still have a little bit of time left here during training camp. We have one more preseason game and then some practices next week as well. But the competition is very much open. I think Brock Hoffman, he has a little bit more experience, which is why I can see they may be a little bit more comfortable with him. But I think they're starting to see what Cooper Beebe has, and so I think it's everything for him to fight for at this point.
Yeah, it's one thing that has to be finalized yet, because it's still a competition. I thought it was kind of neat that Deuce, when he was in the game, he remarked afterwards, he said he was in the huddle, and he heard Beebe's voice, and he goes, "Oh, it's like old times, K-State." They played together, and he said it's been a while since he'd been in the huddle with Cooper Beebe.
I have one added note that I actually saw, which I thought was amazing, was the Beebe family they've been going to the preseason games to watch Cooper, and they ended up actually being with Deuce Vaughn's family at the game. So they all took a photo together, and I'm like, look, it's all the K-State. They're all there to support, and I love it.
Wildcat reunion here, right? And we're just about done here, but one other note with Tyler Guyton did get the start at left tackle. So there's, the Cowboys, he's going to be the starter. Believe me. He needed to be the starter, right? With Chuma Edoga going down, Earl Bostic was sort of, a backup candidate. Well, those are two things that they've got to work out. So between Hoffman and Beebe, they've got a starter, and they've got a swing guy that can play center and guard. So that's taken care of. Mm-hmm. One of the things they've got to find is a backup swing tackle now, because there's not much experience behind Tyler Guyton.
Absolutely.
So they got to work that out, and they'll probably keep their eye on the waiver wire. Thank you guys for calling, helping us out with the third man, right? Not the 12th man, the third man.
We love that.
Mick Shots. Appreciate you. We'll holler back at you next Monday from back at the Star. We get back home.
Crazy.
So,
we're going back to Texas,
back
Mickey.
to Texas, Savannah. Appreciate your help, and we'll see you guys again in just about a week on Mick Shots on DallasCowboys.com.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!